Now, I'm really excited today. I have a brand new friend in my life jumping onto the podcast with me. We are going to dive into all kinds of subjects today and find out more about his book. We are sat down with Kevin MacNevin Clark. He has found a deep purpose through his work in behavioral health field, specializing in treating addiction and trauma. He holds a degree in psychology and has been on his own path of awakening since 2005, getting sober and entering recovery in 2006. He founded Excelsior Addiction Services, LLC, in 2020. In 2020, Mr. Clark also wrote and published his first book, The New Prophet, which is filled with meditative truths designed to promote awareness of the inner emotional experience. He resides in the United States with his family, living by his guiding philosophy that there are no hopeless cases. What an amazing intro. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
That was an amazing intro. Thank you. Thank you for having me so much. I talk about it a lot. Just as a child, I was probably had big and loud feelings. And, there was some trauma that happened in childhood, adverse life events as well. But I think it was even more my emotional sensitivity in general that maybe started to create that shame story before some of that trauma happened, to where I was so uncomfortable in my own skin that when drugs came around, alcohol and other drugs, it just seemed like a solution to my problems because it just kind of, like I said, turned down the volume, dulled the pain some. Oblivion was my objective from pretty early on. So from 13 to 22, I was in active addiction.
So yeah, before we move on to talk about your book and what we can expect for anybody that wants to grab a copy, what are your thoughts then? We did touch on it earlier about the impact awareness has and self-awareness has within addiction. Do you think it's a big part of the process to become aware of what's going on? Is that a key bit?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a key bit. I think it's huge. A big part of the recovery process for sure, because you've got to look at your past, and then you start to see these patterns. You start to see how you were defectively conditioned through life, trauma, whatever, just experience. And you start to see like the needs, wants, and expectations that weren't necessarily met or that were driving your behavior. Through that, I think, you can facilitate the change, which resolves that emotional dependency on external sources. So, on an individual level, addiction awareness is super important. And it's so important also that addiction doesn't just show up as, cocaine use or even marijuana, alcohol, any of that kind of stuff, or heroin. Addiction could be picking up my cell phone and realizing I'm mindlessly scrolling at my cell phone. What am I actually, not able to sit with right now? What am I avoiding? Why do I feel the need that I have to put on the music all the time in my car, even if I'm not even in the mood for music? Somewhere I said that the book's just as much for like the hurting as it is for the hopeful. I think anybody could benefit from it. It's not complex jargon or anything like that. In fact, there's backdrops of like those trainings that we were talking about. There's backdrops of that information, but it's being conveyed through, painting a picture with words, which, anybody can read a book with pictures in it. You know what I mean? And you can see, the longer you kind of can look at like a detailed picture, the more you kind of see. And I always kind of tie it back to that Dr. Dyer quote: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if I'm giving you a new way to look at your emotions, then all of a sudden your perspective on vulnerability might shift. One of my friends said that that's what he got from the book, that maybe he needs to be more emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, and it sounds quite unique too in the way it's put together and the way it's paced and everything else. And I think we need lots of that at the moment, because every other person is publishing, a book these days. So it's know which ones are the ones that will connect. But I love what you said about, a bit like music, that sort of deep resonance. Things come up for you through seeing another experience or reading about an experience brings up an experience for you. And I think that's always been the power of music. I think the power to make us feel something is just so powerful. And if you can get that from a book, then all the better too, because it's something you can keep returning to. And probably I'd imagine as you go on your personal growth journey and you return to a book like that, new things may resonate. But yeah, again, just I'll put everything in the show notes, but thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. These are long form podcasts, and I do appreciate every guest's time and wisdom they share. So thank you for giving me some insights too. I've loved this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.